Alright, so today in class we added a toolkit entry with the distributive property on it and 6 different examples. So I'm going to walk you through how to use the distributive property to simplify these expressions. Now, before I do that, I want you to think about one thing. Remember, if we have a number that is touching the parentheses, like right here, that actually means to multiply. So that would be the same as 2 times 5 equaling, 10. Okay? So the parentheses tells us to multiply that. Okay? Now we're going to apply that over here, but I have 2 different terms in my parentheses. I have an x and I have a 7. Okay, so that's 2 different terms. So on this first one, I'm going to encourage you to do keep, change, and make it a -7. I want you to know the 7 is negative. Alright, there. Alright, so I changed it up to a plus -7 using keep, change. Alright, so I'm going to take this outside number, the -4, and I'm going to multiply it by both of my terms. So I'm going to take -4 times x, and I'm going to take -4 times -7. So -4 times x plus -4 times -7. Okay. Wish I was better with this pen. Alright, so when we multiply a number times a variable, we don't really need the multiplication symbol. So that is just -4x plus, now over here, we can actually multiply these together because we know 4 times 7. And if we take a negative times a negative, we get a positive 28. Okay? Now, like we learned earlier this week, these are not like terms. So that is our final answer. We distributed the -4. Okay? Now fold that flap back down and pull up this next flap. Okay? So you're writing these examples underneath each of the flaps. Alright. So on this one, our outside number is positive, and this is a plus sign. So this one's going to actually be easier because everything's positive. Alright, so we're taking this outside number, this 3, and we're going to multiply it by all of our terms. So we're going to take 3 times 3 plus, we're going to take 3 times x. Alright, so 3 times 3 is 9, plus 3 times x is 3x. And that is our final answer, because those are not like terms. Alright, let's try a third one. So close that first tab and let's open up this one. This one I noticed the 5 is on the other end. Okay, so my outside number is on the right side instead of the left side. Don't let that freak you out, okay? Have no fear. Not something to worry about. We are still going to distribute the 5. We're still going to multiply by 4. So 5 times 4 minus, because there's a minus sign here, 5 times x. Alright, so we can go ahead and multiply what we know. We know 5 times 4 is 20. Drop down the minus sign, and 5 times x is just 5x. Now, I hope you notice on the top one where I made you do keep, change. Okay, did you notice I did not do keep, change down here? It just wasn't really necessary because I knew it wasn't going to cause me a negative issue. Because notice the 4 was negative on that one, and I was worried about making sure we distributed the negative. So the 5 was negative, or not negative, so I I knew it wasn't going to cause me a problem. Anyway, this is our final answer because the terms are not alike. Okay, moving on to the fourth tab, I'm going to solve this one, and I have to distribute a -2. All right, so I'm going to take that outside number and multiply it by everything on the inside. Okay, I am worried about my negative and on the outside and a minus sign. So I am going to ask you to do keep, change, change. So make it a plus -8. All right. All right, so I'm going to take -2 times 4x plus a -2 times -8. All right, so now this is kind of awkward. We haven't dealt with two numbers and a variable in one time, but I can multiply the numbers. I can take -2 times -4 to get our -8, and then the x just kind of hangs on to the end. Okay, so he's just following along for the ride. Plus sign. Now here we have an integer rule. A negative times a negative is positive, and we have 2 times 8. Okay, these are not like terms because one has a variable and one does not. So we are finished. All right, 2 more to go. Let's distribute a positive 12. So, since this is positive, I'm not going to worry about keep, change, change, if that's okay. So, if I do 12, I have to multiply it by 2x, and then I'm going to distribute it to my second term, and I'm going to write a minus 12 times 2. All right, multiply what we know. We know 12 times 2 is 24, and then the x is just going to tag along for the ride. Minus sign. Over here we have a 12 times 2 again, 24. So final answer, 24x minus 24. Those are not like terms. I can't do anything else with it. All right, let's move on to our very last one. So open up that last tab. Now we got to distribute a number and a variable. Okay, so we have a coefficient and a variable and a negative to beat. So I'm going to go ahead and do keep, change, change on the inside so I don't lose track that the 6 is negative. Okay, so keep, change, change. The 6 is negative. All right. I'm going to distribute that -3, x times y, plus, we have a -3x times -6. All right, so let's deal with the first one. That's easier, actually. I don't need to show the dot or a multiplication sign. That just gets confusing. So this, to clean it up, all you'd have to do is 3xy. That says to multiply 3 times x times y. So all of that is multiplication. Okay, looks funny, but that's how we do it. Okay, drop down the plus sign. Now over here, this says -3 times x times -6. So it's no different than what we did way at the beginning up here where we did -2 times 4. Well, I can take the -3 and the -6 times each other. So a negative times a negative gives me the positive 18, and then x is just along for the ride. Okay? Now this is kind of different. We haven't had two variables in the same expression yet, but that's just it. xy is not the same as just a lonely x. So those are not like terms. So that means you're done. All right, thank you so much for watching the video. We'll practice tomorrow in class.